Hi everyone, this is Balazs from RB's Gadget Reviews. Today we are taking a closer look at Creality's Falcon 2 22W laser engraver and cutter. A little disclaimer before we get started. This is a video from a series for beginners. The aim is to see how usable this machine is for people who are not familiar with the subject. I'll show you in detail the unboxing and assembly, the instructions and the first steps. Let's get started. The machine arrives in a rather large box. Let's open it and see what's inside. Everything seems to be neatly packed, which is already a plus. We get an operation guide with the main steps to follow, assembly, working with samples, then trying out your own artwork, and even the suggestion to join a Facebook group if you need help. Flowchart fans will love the other side, again some steps to follow in different cases. We can't complain about the lack of information so far. There's a sticker sheet if you are into these things, a more detailed manual with the setup steps and everything, a small sample pack with some accessories, tools, screws and other bits and pieces. There's a USB card reader in the box, which is good to check out. The SD card contains lots of useful information, the manual in digital form, plus tutorial videos and so on. Here is the laser head, then the safety goggles, the power cord and the power supply. This is the air assist pump, quite a heavy piece of equipment which we will look at in more detail later, and we have the four legs. And of course we have the frame of the Falcon 2, which comes fully assembled, which makes it a lot easier to set up. Okay, there's also a metal plate hidden here. So that's all that was in my box. The contents may vary as there are different packages you can choose from on the website. You can get the rotary roller, the razor legs, more material samples and so on. I have two extra boxes. The first one has the protective cover. Seems like a small box for a large cover, but as you can see, you can practice your tent making skills from your childhood because this thing has to be assembled from many small pieces. I also got a much bigger box containing the honeycomb workbench, which seems to be much bigger than the usual 40 by 40 cm ones you can buy. So we are done with the unboxing, let's see how the assembly goes. First we need to screw the legs on. The ones with the rubber feet have to be used. You can either use them as they are, or you can attach the extension pieces. I will make them higher as I will be using the honeycomb panel. There are 3 holes at each corner. You can decide the position of the legs depending on your table or the material you will work on. Next up is the air pump. I need to remove this rubber plug here and attach the free end of the hose. The air pump cable must be connected here on the left hand side of the machine. There is also a knob here that you can use to manually adjust the airflow. This is the laser head. It simply slides in this slot. There are 2 knobs that you have to tighten to fix it in place. Height adjustment will be necessary for focusing. Attaching this connector is perhaps the most difficult part of the otherwise straightforward process. Access to the port is somewhat restricted by the cable holder, so it's best to put the cable in the holder first and then try to push the connector in. I watched some videos online and earlier versions seem to have a smaller connector that may have been easier to handle, but this one requires some effort and attention. Once it's connected, the rest is pretty simple. We can use the cable management clips to secure the cable and then attach it to the air assist tube with the Velcro straps. Now let's move on to the assembly of the protective cover. We have numbered bags for the frame pieces, which is great, the connectors, the tube, the instructions, and in this bag was the exhaust fan. Assembling the frame is very easy and takes no more than 5 minutes. Now we can put the cover on, which you can attach to the frame with these Velcro straps. Let's unzip the cover. As you can see, we have fan openings on both sides, which is good, and also openings for the cables. I will install my fan on the left side, as that one is closer to the workshop window. The instructions are not very clear and hard to decipher. It's kind of logical, but a little more clarity would be great. Pay attention to the direction of the airflow at the fan. You want to push the smoke out of the chamber. Now it's time to assemble the pipe. It's a bit tricky with the flap here, but once it's in place, it goes quickly. So the cover is ready, let's put it in place. As you can see, I already have the honeycomb workbench here in place. That didn't require any assembly. So before putting the cover on, there is one small step that is missing in the quick start guide, although you can see it in the video. You need to connect the power supply, and if you want to control the device directly with your computer, also the USB cable. Now comes the cover, and as I realized, connecting everything in advance probably wasn't the best idea, since I now have to reroute all the cables through this opening. You will have to do that too if you have the cover, which is definitely recommended. Now everything is neat and tidy, but I still have to do one thing. Make sure the exhaust pipe pushes the fumes outside. I installed this 3D printed pipe in this piece of foam I used before. I can attach the tube and then insert the foam into the window. Hopefully the tube will be long enough, it seems to be just fine for me. One thing I forgot, the power for the exhaust fan. The guys at Creality seem to have forgotten that too, because we only have a USB cable but we can't plug it in anywhere. I will have to use my own power supply for this. It would have been nice to have a USB output on the machine to power the fan, or at least get an adapter with an on-off switch. Now our machine is ready, time to turn it on. But first we need to update the firmware. You can find the necessary files on Creality's website. Make sure you download the latest file for your specific model. Here it is, there are 2 files inside and the manual. There is a separate firmware for the device and another one for the laser module. You can use the supplied microSD card to perform the operation, but the advice is to delete everything from it first. It's best to move the contents to your computer. The master file is for the device, so we copy it to the card first. The card slot is a little difficult to reach when the cover is on. Here you go. We need to turn on the device with the card installed. Then it will start beeping and flashing while the update process is running. That's it, the device has rebooted. Now we can go back and copy the file for the laser unit. There's a USB-C adapter in the package that you can use because the hat has such a port. The procedure is similar. We need to remove the rubber protective cap first, then plug the card reader into the port, turn on the device, the lights will circle in this pattern, and you can see when it's done. Firmware update completed. A couple of things about the operation. There is a switch on the side, but there are 2 additional security features. Firstly, there is a key that you can use to lock the device, and then you can turn it back on. Very useful if you have children or other people around. The other is the emergency stop button. If you have a problem with the device, you press it and it switches off immediately. Again, problem, press the button and it stops. So folks, the Falcon 2 is now ready for use. That was the first part of the video. In the second part we will see how to use the device, what software you need and of course what you can cut and engrave with it. See you next time, bye bye.